You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey, this is another episode of Tiffany's Take, where I answer your money questions here on the podcast. If you want to ask your money questions, feel free to go to www.moneytalkwitht.com/ask Tiffany, and I'll be more than happy to answer for you. So this episode continues our January chat of goal setting. So if you missed it, just go back and listen to some previous episodes. We started off with values and how those lead into your goals. Then we talked about SMART goals. The previous episode before this one, we talked about how to organize your goals. And now I want to get into goal implementation, because that is the important part. You can make all the goals in the world you want, but if you are not implementing, guess what? What's the point, right? And that's usually where people get stuck. They get stuck on the implementation. So, everybody's doing all these vision boards, they're making SMART goals, they're doing all these things. But then at the end of the year, they're like, oh, I forgot about that goal list. Let me go back, right? So let's talk about implementation when it comes to our goals. So when I'm implementing my goals, so depending on what it is, we're sticking to financial goals, for the purposes of this, just so I can nail it in now. Of course, if it's not financial, this stuff might not apply. That's cool. Use whatever applies for you. But when I'm implementing my financial goals, what does that look like? Well, first and foremost, if you haven't heard me say it before, I look at my budget. I know y'all get tired of me talking about budgets, but those is so paramount. They're like the cornerstone of financial wellness, I promise. And so the first thing I do is look at my budget. And I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, after all my expenses are taken care of, all of my mandatory expenses, fixed expenses, all of my variable expenses, everything that I want to do is taken care of. What is left over? So whatever is left over, that goes towards whatever goal I'm working on at that time. Now, like I said in the previous episode, I typically like to do multiple goals at one time, but if you are new to this, I highly recommend just starting with one. And so maybe that is saving up for an emergency fund, or maybe that is, investing a certain amount every week or month. Maybe that is paying off some of your debt, one of your debts, whatever the case may be. Focus on that. And what I would do is in my budget, make sure that I allocate the money that should be allocated towards that goal. So when you worked on your goals, you should have said how you're going to get it done. So I gave the example previously. Let's say it's credit card debt. You're like, I am going to pay off $2,000 in credit card debt by, let's just say June 2023, by using $300 a month that I have left over. Whatever. Okay. That's not perfect, but it's there. So now you have to go ahead and put in your budget that $300. Now I can tell you, like, if you implement goals correctly, you can't fail. It's literally impossible to fail, because you're saying exactly how you're going to get it done. And all you have to do is do it at that point. And so that's what you would do next, is just make sure that you are allocating the resources necessary. So let's say it's something not related to money. Let's say I want to read 24 books today. That's actually not today. Woo, that's a lot. This year, that's actually one of my goals, is to read 24 books in Goodreads. If you're on Goodreads, look for me. But if that's the case, then I need to allocate time, a resource, to get that done, right? And so now I have to look at my time budget, because we all have a time budget too. Look at my time budget and say, okay, when am I going to work this in and make it happen? And so you have to look at whatever resource you need in order to make that thing happen, or multiple resources maybe, and make sure that you allocate to that goal. And so if it looks like time, maybe you have a goal to work out. Maybe you want to lose weight, whatever the case may be, or get fit, or, gain muscle. I don't know. Then you have to allocate time to make that happen. You might have to allocate money to make that happen, So when you're looking at your goals list, see what you have to allocate, and then make the proper necessary adjustments that you need to in order to do it. I will also say with implementation, don't get overwhelmed. I know it can be really difficult looking at these numbers or looking at these big goals. Maybe you're looking at your long-term goals, whatever. But don't get discouraged and don't get overwhelmed, because you can always knock it out. All you have to do is step by step, knocking it out, getting it done. Nothing happens overnight. I always say Caesar didn't conquer Rome in a day. I don't know if that's historically accurate or not, but that's what I say sometimes. And, it's so true. You're not going to get it all done today, but if you take small steps today in order to make it happen to that big goal, then you'll get there eventually. And if you did a good SMART goal, you'll know exactly when you'll get there. So that's what I wanted to give you all for implementation. With the last one next week, last episode on this goal setting, I'm going to go over tips and tricks to stay focused, because I feel like that's really important. And I have a few of them for you. So I can't wait until next week to share those with you. Until next time, I hope you have a good one. Start knocking out those goals. It's no time like the present. So what? You missed the first of the month. Whatever. Today is your first of the month. Go make it happen. Bye, y'all.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.